Darren here, bestautodetailingtips.com, detailing made simple. I'm going to talk shortly about wheels, additional information regarding wheels and the wheel cleaners that I choose. If you've seen my other videos, you know that many areas of car care in the detailing world talk about this whole pH balance load of crap. Okay, jack off sign. Did I just do that? I hope my kids aren't watching. Kids, if you're watching, sorry. Anyhow, I just think it's BS. Why? Because most people don't know what the pH scale is. They always just ambiguously label products as pH balanced, but balanced according to what? I challenge anyone to tell me what the proper pH scale of a wheel is, okay? So if it's going to be neutral, then you can't use anything that's either on the alkaline side or the acid side. So there's this whole endless debate. I don't know, I don't get bogged down on it. So the point is what I wanted to illustrate this morning is that wheels come in so many configurations, and if you've ever used a non-acid based wheel cleaner that's really just a glorified, colored, maybe smell good, brightly packaged wheel cleaner that's pH balanced, it's just a cleaner. It's just a way for you to buy another product. But if you've ever used that, and then you've actually used a wheel cleaner that is acid based, it's night and day difference, because the acid, the chemical that they use that is on the scale towards the acid side is so much more effective at breaking down the brake dust that you're like, oh my gosh, where has this product been? I remember 20 years ago when I was first introduced to that acid based wheel cleaner. It's like, wow, this is a lifesaver. It just sped up the process so much. So what I wanted to show you today is a couple examples, because the wheels on the two cars that I'm going to show you represent the many, or just a few examples of the many variables that can exist with wheels. So let's go in for a little closer look. Okay, what our test model today is a brand new Mercedes S63 AMG. As far as Mercedes goes, it does not get much better than this. In this class, which is the S class, the only way we could up the ante is by an S65, and really the only difference on that would be engine size. Anyhow, fabulous car. I did a whole separate video on the car itself and highlighted some of the cool features. What I want to talk about with this wheel is that it's unique in that it is blacked out almost entirely. The only exception is on this very tiny ridge on the outside that's been polished. Now, I honestly do not know for sure, but based on the look and appearance of this wheel, I would have to say that it is not clear coated. But I don't know for sure, because I use my typical wheel cleaner from Meguiar's that is an acid-based wheel cleaner, highly effective. And if this was this little rim here that's polished aluminum, and I don't even know what this wheel is, because it's such a high performance luxury car, when it comes to wheels, the absolute best at the top that would reside at the top of the echelon of wheels and performance wheels, and by performance I mean lightweight and strong, would be what's called a forged magnesium wheel. That would reside at the uppermost top echelon of wheels when it comes to performance and strength. But then you have everything down between. You've got forged wheels, you've got cast wheels, you've got billet. So there's all different types of wheels. Now this product will react to bare metals. It does not react to ceramics because I'm going to show you another model shortly on a Porsche, and it's got ceramic brakes and there's no chemical reaction on those. Now this rotor is a vented and what's called a vented and cross-drilled rotor, and that's a performance rotor. We won't go into much detail on that, but the point is it's still bare metal, so it will rust when it's exposed to water itself or this chemical. That's no big deal. I've explained that process. Now this wheel though, if it was truly bare, as in that it's only painted black, whatever type of paint they use, because you'll notice this is a matte finish. On the next car I'm going to show you, it's a black wheel, but it's a gloss finish, so I know that that's traditional paint and it probably has a traditional clear coat on it. Now I would guess that this has no clear coat on it, but yet there's no reaction to this bare exposed polished lip that's not really polished, it's just bare because it has a satin finish to it. But there's no chemical reaction when I use this wheel cleaner on it. If it was bare, this would actually it does a little foaming action. It goes to a foam kind of white look that if you were to spray this on a bare aluminum wheel, whether it was a cast aluminum, forged aluminum, or billet aluminum, it would actually start to foam up and turn like a white, and then you would hose it off and it would leave just a satin finish. So the fact that I can spray this on and it's not doing any of that would suggest that somehow there's a plastic or a clear coating on this wheel. Now the second thing about this is the fact that it is matte finish. Now why is that so unique? Well, it's a different look obviously because it's not shiny and glossy. But if you were to feel this, which you can't do from there obviously, is it's got a slight texture to it. Now on the next wheel I'm going to show you, it's shiny and glossy. It's got a very smooth finish, just like the finish on your car. It's very smooth. This has a texture to it. So what does that mean to us? Well, what that means is that the brake dust, and it's like these new cars where they put the matte finish on the cars. I don't know if you probably most of you have never seen those up close and personal. You've only seen them in maybe TV commercials, maybe some YouTube channels where they highlight those types of cars. It's become the paint de jour, or the paint nouveau, meaning it's the trend, the latest trend. But while they're very cool, unfortunately they represent a challenge as far as taking care of them, because you cannot use traditional wax on them. And then it's like, well, do you even need to wax them because it's not shiny anyways? Generally we wax cars for protection and visual enhancement. We want them to become shinier. So if you have a matte finished car, obviously you don't want it shiny, or you wouldn't have bought a matte finished car in the first place, right? So it represents an exception to the rule. How do you take care of it? So when it comes to these wheels, excuse me, they are more difficult. Now you would think because it's matte finish, or I'm sorry, you would think that it's black. In fact, the customer himself said this. He said, gee, Darren, I thought with the black wheel that it would actually be easier because it would show the brake dust less. Well, it does show it less, but it's still very visible. You can still see that the wheel in fact is dirty. Not so much from a distance or as it's rolling down the road and you happen to be driving next to it, but you look up, and I'll show you, you look up and you can tell that it's saturated with brake dust. Now the problem comes is because the surface, because of this matte finish, almost is like a porous material. And so the brake dust can hide and collect in all these little thousands of little pores or valleys that create that texture. So if you were to try to clean this wheel with a traditional wheel cleaner that was pH balanced, there's that jack-off sign again, you would just be frustrated. You'd be spending just a sick amount of time trying to clean those wheels. And I would venture to say that you would just be less than effective and you would never get your wheel completely clean. So that's what's cool about this wheel cleaner is A, that it is safe for this wheel, and it is going to be effective at cleaning all those pores of this matte finished wheel. And even me with this wheel cleaner, these wheels represent a unique challenge because with all my specialty brushes, this brush which I've talked about and this brush which I've talked about, it still is very difficult to clean this wheel. In fact, these wheels take me about twice as long to clean, even with this cleaner, than they do the traditional silver clear-coated wheel, or even the next wheel that I'm going to show you, which is the shiny black finished wheel. So, I guess is what I'm trying to make, the point I'm trying to drive home is that A, I'm a big fan of this wheel cleaner, despite all the bad press that a lot of people will talk about acid-based wheel cleaners. I remain a big fan. They're effective, they're safe, and by safe, anything can be harmful if you use it incorrectly or inappropriately. Even water. Let's go with something as basic as water. You can actually OD on water. You can drink so much water in such a short amount of time that you can actually die from it. Believe that or not. And then two, water, it chemically reacts. It will chemically react to bare metal. It will cause it to rust. So something as basic and commonplace as water is a chemical, and if used inappropriately, whether you want to drown someone in it or have someone consume so much that they die from it or have it rust metal, it's still going to react, and you still can use it in an inappropriate way that's not beneficial. So if you understand the nature of the beast of anything and use it appropriately, then you can get the results that you want, and hopefully you can become more effective and more efficient as a detailer or as a car owner. So anyhow, I'm going to finish cleaning this wheel, and then I'm going to take you to another wheel just to give you another example. And something I want to highlight while I'm here is the fact that this brake caliper is powder coated, painted. It doesn't really matter because it's completely safe for paint and clear coat itself. Once again, notice that it's in a plastic container. Anyhow, so this is one of the examples where the caliper has been painted, because I've also highlighted in my other video how a lot of the calipers are a cast bare metal, and so you will get a little bit of rusting going on. This product seems to kind of accelerate that, even though that when water is exposed to it, it's going to rust automatically. This seems to accelerate a little bit, but if you watch that first video, it's really, in my world, just a non-issue based on the cost analysis benefit, meaning way more benefits than any drawbacks. Okay, so I'm going to finish and then we'll do a few more other examples. Okay, before I move on, a couple last things on this particular wheel. I've finished cleaning it. I've blown it off with the leaf blower. No standing water. It's virtually about 98% dry, but I want to blow it off so there's no big pooled areas of water. You'll also notice here that there's a big chip in the paint, and there's a little, for lack of a better word, chip, scuff. Something happened here. Because I know he didn't do a curb shot with it, I know that this is a result from driving and hitting something on the road. So once again, that's the problem with life, is everything has what's called unforeseen consequences. So the customer, and I don't necessarily mean this exact customer, but let's say you as a person, you're shopping for a car and you think, oh yeah, black wheels are so cool. And not only are they cool, so that could drive you to want to get them, but then you could also further think like, oh, cool, the brake dust won't show up as well. Yes, it doesn't show up as well, and you may think in your head that it's not going to show up at all, and therefore that would be the good news, because foreign cars are notorious for slinging far more brake dust than domestic cars, especially the front wheels. Front wheels, as a general rule, do something like 60 to 70% of the actual braking, and you'll notice it on your own car that the front wheels collect far more brake dust than the rear wheels. So you may be thinking, okay, cool, I got trendy wheels, I'm going to stand out in the crowd, I'm going to be the cool guy, whatever. And the added benefit is that the brake dust is not going to show up as well. Well, now we get into the unforeseen consequences, like oh wow, the brake dust does still show up. Yeah, not as much, but I thought the fact that it's a black wheel, it's really going to hide the brake dust. Well, it doesn't really hide it that well. Secondly, now you get chips in the wheel. If this was a chrome wheel or a silver wheel, guess what? These chips are silver, almost chrome looking. So these chips would actually not show up as well on a silver or a chromed wheel. But because it's black and it's now chipped off the finish, this black matte finish, guess what? It actually magnifies the damage more than on a traditional wheel. So there we have the unforeseen consequences. They will always be there. And that's why they're called unforeseen, because you can't predict them. Anyhow, just want to note that. Also, I want to note the fact that you can see the rotor is beginning to rust up. Once again, not an issue. It's going to happen regardless. Water alone will cause that to happen. Now, whether the wheel cleaner or not accelerates that is a non-issue, because I know the second I move this car and I tap the brakes and the calipers clamp down on that rotor, it's going to clean them perfectly clean, and it's just a non-issue. So with that, let's go in for a look at the front wheel, because this represents a unique challenge. So, you have heard me, seen me talk about this wonderful tool that you can find on my website. And just as an added note, because I've had people question, it's like, oh, well, where can I get these products? You show pictures of them on your website, Darren, but where do I get them? Well, I have links on my website. Those little blue links are safe links that will take you to my affiliate, which is called autogeek.net, and you can purchase them yourself. They'll ship them straight to your house. They got great customer service, and I get a little commission. That's part of the incentive for me taking the time to make these videos and teach you what I know. It's how I supplement my income. I want there to be no mystery about how that works. But in case you're wondering, that's what those links are for. Use them, support my efforts. Thank you in advance. Anyhow, this tool is a wonderful tool. It's a superior tool. It's made to last. I've been using this one for over a year, and it still holds up. But with that said, there's always exceptions. So despite my tagline of detailing made simple, guess what? We have the exception to the rule. Now, for whatever reason, the front wheel on this, and generally the front wheel rotors brake assembly will be bigger. Why? Because as I said, the front wheels do more of the stopping than the rear wheels. So if we look inside here, you can see this guard and you can hear it. It's just a pressed, I don't know what kind of metal, sheet metal, whatever. It's pretty thick, but nonetheless, it's a thin guard plate. I don't know why it's there. Somehow for whatever reason, they've put it there, but it's not on the back. The point I'm trying to illustrate is that this tool, while it will fit, it is a very snug fit. And because it's so snug, when I pull it out it wants to really grab the bristles, and I've noticed that it's starting to break down my wonderful tool. Yes, I can still use it, but I had to go out, and as I've done in many areas of my detailing world, is I've had to go into other industries to find the perfect tool. And I've talked about, for example, on the interiors, I use dental tools in order to detail the interior. So this one will not be on my website. I had to go to a supply place, an industrial supply place, probably in your area, maybe a Granger's. See, I'm on the West Coast, so I don't know about all you people in the Midwest, East Coast, whatever, but what you need to find is an industrial supply place, not like a Home Depot. That's for the retail consumer, do-it-yourselfer. I'm talking about for the construction industry trade. You can go and you can find all types of brushes. So I found this cool brush. I don't know what it's specifically made for, but I know the bristles are nylon, they're safe. I did wrap it in red electrical tape as a cushion and buffer because it's a metal rod. That way I would not do any scratching. But this can fit into tighter places. Some brake caliper and rotor assemblies are so big, and the clearance between the wheel and the caliper itself are so tight that there's literally anywhere from 1/4 inch to 1/8 of an inch. In fact, it's so tight, I question, it's like, wow. You would think that under the stresses, the loads, the G-forces that are created in tight turns or accelerated turns, that it would actually touch. I guess it really doesn't, but the point is I can't even fit this tool inside those areas. And so in order to clean it, I have to clean, 3/4 of the wheel, and then get in the car, rotate it so that the dirty part that was covered by the caliper part is exposed, and clean it. So it's just more time consuming. Now, fortunately on this wheel, I can use this brush to access in between that, you can hear it, that added guard that they have put into place for whatever reason. You also notice that the calipers on the front are much bigger than the ones on the rear. And then also this car really, just to let you know, I detail this car every single week. And as I've said in my other videos, yes, this is like the ultimate customer. Good morning. In that I get to do the car every single week. There are people that literally have their cars detailed every week, and I don't mean washed, I mean truly detailed. So this car does not have that many miles on it, but you can see the buildup of brake dust that is already on it. And yes, even though it's a black wheel, it does show. So I just wanted to highlight this other part of this particular car and this particular configuration of wheel finish and brake caliper size, and the fact that it's got this extra plate which makes cleaning that much more difficult. Okay, I am almost 100% done with these wheels. I just wanted to highlight yet again, I have cleaned the wheels, blown them off, wiped them down, and I have driven it down into the cul-de-sac and used the brakes to clean off the rotors. And you can see that they are in fact perfectly clean. The wheel at this point is 99% perfect. I will have to do a little touching up. You constantly have to check your work, especially with wheels, because they move, they're round. So what you see from this angle will not be the same thing that you see from that angle. But from this angle, there's no way I could get my head down at this angle. So therefore, I need to rotate the wheel so that this section here is now up here and I can see it. So wheels are tricky. And I've been doing this 25 years, a little bit more than that. and I always challenge myself to see if I can get a wheel perfect the first time without ever having to touch it up. I think I've done it once, literally once, and when I'm talking done, I mean true perfection. So, but that doesn't mean I can't continue to try. So for people that have not been doing this for very long, it will be virtually impossible for you to get your wheel 100% the first time around. You will need to move it. You will need to verify your results, or once you pull into the garage, if you're a driveway detailer and you look at your wheel, most likely you will see like a place that you have missed. So anyhow, the rotors, they're clean. The calipers clean. The wheels, like I said, are 99% clean. Okay, till next time, or till next wheel, I should say. Okay, back with more wheels. A couple things I want to highlight because I come across this not frequently, but frequently enough that I want to make mention to it. Here we have what's called an OE wheel, original equipment. Now, it's truly not original. This is an upgrade. You can see that this customer clearly does a lot of parking by braille. Anyhow, so it's what's called upgraded original equipment. It's from the factory. It's a factory wheel, but it's an upgrade. This is a 21-inch wheel. It's got a 30 series tire on it, which is like, it might as well be a black rubber band strung around this wheel. We have approximately 2 inches between the wheel lip and the ground. That's not a whole lot of safety zone. Anyhow, as far as wheel cleaners go, this wheel, because I know my customer bought this used, and the dealer unfortunately misrepresented himself, as many dealers do. Stereotypes do exist for a reason, folks. I do not create them, but I do embrace them because it saves a lot of time. So the dealer misrepresented the moment and said this car was basically perfect, nothing had ever happened to it. But I know that's false, because these wheels have been repaired and were repainted. They were not completely stripped and painted and powder coated as they should have been, because this area is basically overspray. It cannot be cleaned off. So you may get the wheel cleaner that I recommend, and you may clean your wheel, and there may be sections that do not come clean. Now this was cleaned. I do take care of this car. This was cleaned. This is my customer's daily driver, so he's less concerned with it. This is a pet peeve of mine, where when they change the tires, they leave the old adhesive on. Yes, I can take that off. It's very time consuming, and unless my customer asks for it to be done, it's not one of those things I can just do, because literally I would spend probably a half an hour to an hour, based on how thick and how much of it there was, trying to go around the car and doing it. So back to what I was getting at is, this car was cleaned about a week ago. He hasn't driven it much. He's been out of town. But this area, you'll notice, cannot be wiped clean, and it does not look like this looks. It should look the same, but because this wheel was repaired and repainted, this overspray will not come off. So you may have a situation, and even if you're a original car owner and you may think, oh, well, my car's never been in an accident. My wife's car wasn't in an accident, but something hit her on the road and the whole panel had to be repainted. Well, it damaged the wheel, and because the insurance dictates that they don't have to use original equipment, they used what was called a refurbished wheel. So that wheel was simply refurbished by one of these mobile guys that will strip the face of it, repaint it, and they'll get overspray back in here, because they know most people don't clean the inside of their wheels, and so it's really a non-issue and it looks perfect from the get-go. But unfortunately, as time goes on, it reveals that in fact there's overspray inside the wheel, and that happened on my wife's car. So that's a little added side note. Next, I want to highlight ceramic brake systems. This rotor, this is a Porsche Turbo S. You know, basically just under a $200,000 car. Notice it's got the calipers that are painted yellow, very cool. It's got the center hub, special center hub deal that Porsche uses on their their ultra high performance cars, and part of that is ceramic rotors. These will not rust, so when I clean these, the wheel cleaner I use and the water has no effect on these. They do not build up a layer of rust that has to be cleaned off when you move the car. I just wanted to highlight that. Also, you'll notice that this is a shiny blacked out wheel. It's got a satin finish lip to it, but this whole wheel I know for a fact has been clear coated. This shiny is very smooth. It's much easier to take care of than the wheel at the beginning of this video, which was on the Mercedes S-Class that was a matte finish, and it's kind of porous. And so dirt can stick to that far easier than this smooth black wheel. So it's just some of the variables you'll come across if you're a professional or looking to become a professional, is the many variables of cars that you will come across. And once again, there's the rules and there's the exceptions to the rule. The inside of this wheel, I have not done this car yet. I'm going to do it as soon as I'm done with my last car. The inside of this is finished very nicely. It's got the original silver and it's clear coated. So once again, just different variables on different cars. Okay, till next time.